Good morning. Thank you all for being here today. On behalf of Chief McSween, Chief Demkew, and the investigative teams who led Project South, I will be providing you with an overview of a lengthy and complex investigation that began in June of 2025. Over 7 months, this investigation identified and disrupted serious criminal activity in the Greater Toronto Area that posed a grave risk to our community safety. This includes a conspiracy to commit murder, shootings, extortion, robbery, drug trafficking, and firearms offenses. This investigation also has uncovered serious allegations of criminal corruption among police officers. This includes 7 police officers employed by the Toronto Police Service and 1 retired member of the Toronto Police Service. It is alleged that these officers have demonstrated varying degrees of criminality and associations to criminal networks. The allegations of criminal corruption include bribery, obstruction of justice, drug trafficking, theft of personal property, breach of trust, and the unauthorized access and distribution of confidential information. We are alleging that some police officers who were collecting personal and private information unlawfully and distributing it to members of organized crime, which ultimately resulted in serious harm in our communities. Our investigation began in June 2025 when a conspiracy unfolded to murder a member of Corrections Management who was working at an Ontario correctional institution. Over a 36-hour period, a number of suspects attended this member's home in York Region, we allege for the purpose of murdering him. As you will see next, surveillance footage captures the moment that 3 men, masked and armed with a loaded handgun, returned to the officer's home and rammed a police cruiser that was in the driveway.
I had 2 cars in front of them just wandering down the middle of the road. Cars coming up behind.
Those are our vehicles. Let's take them down right now. Contain.
Over the grass into a car. I have not seen anyone get out the passenger side, and I haven't seen anyone run around the houses. I have containment in the back. Keep doing what you guys do. I'm blocked out for some trees.
These brazen actions highlight the clear dangers that were faced by the victim, his family, and the police officers that were there to protect him. The 3 suspects who were arrested by police officers at the scene, as I mentioned, were in possession of a loaded handgun. And it is worth emphasizing that this was the 3rd time they had returned within 36 hours. As investigators pieced together the events leading up to this crime, it was determined that a Toronto police officer, Constable Timothy Barnhart, had unlawfully accessed confidential information about the victim. We allege that this officer then released the information to a Mr. Brian DaCosta, and from there it was released further into other criminal networks. We allege that Mr. DaCosta is a key figure in the criminal network operating within the Greater Toronto Area, with in fact significant international ties. The investigation led police to identify 3 additional suspects who were planning to cause harm to the correctional management member. In fact, a Mr. Median Jackson, and Mr. Kajan Doman, and Mr. Devontae Barker Campbell ultimately had access to the confidential information that had been accessed by Constable Barnhart and were recruiting other criminal actors to carry out harm against him. These 3 individuals have been charged and arrested in connection with this investigation. Further, Mr. DaCosta and Mr. Elwin Satanowski, Mr. Daljit Singh, and Mr. Thomas Fippard, among other criminal associates, sought and obtained confidential information from various Toronto police officers, which we allege was to facilitate crime. In some cases, police officers were offered bribes for this information. We have identified a number of serious criminal acts that have occurred following the release of confidential information, almost in real time. This includes extortion, commercial robberies, and 7 shootings right here in York Region. We allege that those shootings were, in part, facilitated by the release of confidential information from Constable Barnhart to Mr. DaCosta and Mr. Satanowski. At the scene of one of these shootings, police arrested Mr. Doman, whom I mentioned earlier. He remains in custody since that time. A firearm recovered at the scene of this shooting was determined to have originated from the United States and would have been unlawfully imported into Canada at some point in the past. Through forensic identification, we allege, and police have now linked this firearm and Mr. Doman to, in fact, 8 shootings across southern Ontario. In addition to shootings, in one case, information accessed by Constable Barnhart made its way to Mr. Fippard, who we allege used the information in part to conduct an extortion plot. This has previously been reported in relation to Mr. Fippard. Let me now get into more detail on how additional officers were tied to these crimes. We allege that Toronto Police Constable Elias Muad was identified in the release of confidential information to Mr. Singh and Mr. DaCosta. We allege that the information provided was in support of illicit activity. Additionally, and previously reported, retired Toronto Police Constable John Madley Sr. and now his son, Toronto Police Constable John Madley Jr., have unlawfully accessed and distributed confidential information. We allege that Mr. DaCosta was involved in a sophisticated drug trafficking operation, and we believe he was responsible for the exportation of cannabis and fentanyl, and with the network more broadly, and as we continue to investigate, the importation of cocaine and the local wholesale trafficking of cannabis, cocaine, and methamphetamine. When police officers arrested Mr. DaCosta on January the 23rd of this year, 2026, officers seized 169 pounds of cannabis and 1 pound of fentanyl, which we believe was destined outbound for a European location. The investigation also identified 4 additional Toronto police officers. Sorry, I should not say additional. 4 Toronto police officers, Constable Barnhart, Sergeant Robert Black, Constable Sarabjit Betty, and Sergeant Carl Grillette. In an operation orchestrated by Mr. DaCosta, we allege that these officers in particular were involved with Mr. DaCosta in supporting illegal cannabis dispensaries by accepting bribes to provide ultimately protection from law enforcement investigation. As you have seen so far, this case uncovered significant drug trafficking activity. Investigators have determined that some of the officers we identified also participated in drug trafficking. In particular, Constable Barnhart, Sergeant Black, and Constable Betty are all charged with various offenses relating to the trafficking of cocaine. As the investigation continued to unfold, other criminal conduct was identified. In an incident previously reported in the media, Toronto Police Constable Mr. Derek McCormick was arrested for his participation in the theft of personal property from a police facility. We continue to actively investigate this matter and have recovered a substantial amount of property. This includes driver's licenses, health cards, passports, and other personal property. Other criminal actors outside the police service were also identified and arrested for the commercial trafficking of cocaine, methamphetamine, illicit cannabis, fentanyl, heroin, and oxycodone. And yet another illegal firearm was removed from the streets from a repeat offender who is already out on bail for drug trafficking. All individuals arrested and charged in relation to Project South have been provided to media in a package today. This is among the most complex and challenging investigations of my 28-year policing career. Since June 18th, 2025, more than 400 officers have played a part in this investigation. The investigators on this case include members of York Regional Police, the Toronto Police Service, the Ontario Provincial Police, and Correctional Services of Ontario. Supporting these investigators was a dedicated team of prosecutors from the Ministry of the Attorney General, the Public Prosecution Service of Canada, and also this investigation was made successful by funding from the Ontario government, Ministry of the Solicitor General, through the Criminal Intelligence Service of Ontario. The investigating officers represent the very best in what we expect of our police officers, demonstrating integrity, professionalism, ethical investigations, and a commitment to uncovering the truth and holding offenders accountable, including fellow police officers. In fact, I would say that this investigation is the hallmark of investigative excellence. The investigators involved held a mirror to the face of the criminal justice system and to our policing institution to uncover the truth. The interoperability of police services, corrections, and prosecutorial services is to be commended. I am confident in saying we are extremely proud of the work done by our collective teams on this case. And as you've heard from the very beginning, our investigators and certainly Chief McSween and Chief Demkew have committed to leaving no stone unturned. And this commitment remains ongoing. This investigation continues, and we will pursue every lead to rid our communities of organized crime and corruption within our institutions. Thank you.